Welcome to the Private Practice Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Brooklyn Storme, here to help you unlock the mind, business, and spirit of your private practice success. So whether you're just starting out or you're looking to grow, this is the place for you if you really want to create a thriving private practice. Before we dive in, I want to share something that can really make a difference in your business. Imagine having an expert in your pocket, someone available on demand whenever you need guidance. Well, that's exactly what my new program, Practice Momentum, offers. With over 30 years of experience at your fingertips, you can now get the support you need whenever you need it. Curious? Head over to brooklynstorme.com to learn more. Hey there, and welcome to another episode of the podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. Today, I just want to give you like a little bit of behind the scenes so you can perhaps hear what's happening, in real life, so to speak. Not that I don't share real life, because you know that I do, but what I mean by behind the scenes is like stuff that isn't really out there at the moment. Why did I even explain that? I know that you know that. Okay. Here's the thing. At the moment with my business, that goal that I had, I will do a whole other episode on that. It was such a learning experience, and I can't wait to share it with you. For those who've been listening for a while, you know what I'm talking about. It's the 45-day goal that I had. I've now decided that I'm going to try and take the same goal and see if I can squish it into 30 days. So yeah, I'm going to see if I can squish it into 30 days and we'll see how we go with that. Speaking of 30 days, just reminded me, I don't know if I mentioned this last week or not. I probably did. I don't remember, but I made a 30-day action plan. And it was meant to be just for myself. I was just really in the mood to do it last weekend because I was looking for one. I couldn't find one. I made it and then I shared it with the women inside Momentum, and, they were loving it. And it was so much fun. The only hiccup that I had with it was I used PDF Escape to make it fillable, and it was working for some people, but other people, it wasn't working. They either couldn't get 2 sentences of text, it all just went sort of in one line, or the text like shrunk down to ant size. It was like when they were typing, it was normal, let's say the font size was 12 or 14, but then when they hit enter, all the font went down to like font size 2. So yeah, PDF Escape, not my friend. So anyway, I need to figure out an option around that, but at the moment I've just given them all access to the template in Canva, so they can just go and do that. But so I was talking to one of them during the week, and I realized that, oh my gosh, like I have this other sort of project going on in the background and in my personal life, and I thought to myself, well, maybe I should do a 30-day plan around that project. So anyway, I'm loving the 30-day plan. And then anyway, we had on Thursday last week, we had the planning workshop. So these happen like maybe every 2 or 3 months. So if it's getting noisy here, it's just decided to start hailing for some reason. When I started the podcast, it was all sunshine and rainbows, and I'm 2 minutes in, not even. And yeah, the heavens have just opened up for some reason. It's still blue skies and sunshine though. It's weird. You know how you get those days sometimes? It's weird. Anywho, and so we were having the planning workshop, and it was so great because it was wonderful to hear where everybody's at and how they're going with their plans and all of this, and they all left knowing exactly what they've got to focus on. Nobody's feeling overwhelmed, and it's just so good. And I really think that the overwhelm's such a big thing, right? Because my take on overwhelm, and let me know if you agree or not, but my take on overwhelm is I think it happens when you don't know what to do, right? And you're asking for advice, opinions, ideas, and you're getting all this conflicting information, and you just kind of go into paralysis. You just kind of freeze, and then you're stuck. I think that's kind of what happens. It's you just don't know what to do. And it's because you're not getting advice usually from, I don't know that, I want to say like the right people, but you know what I mean? If it was from somebody that you trusted, you'd probably feel a lot more confident doing it and taking action. But because you're getting all these ideas from all these different people in all these different places, and it's all conflicting, I think then what happens is, you get stuck. You don't take action. So I think that's the first thing. So it's the not knowing what to do. But I think the other contributor is you know what needs to be done, but you just don't know how to do it. And what this looks like is, like, for example, let's say you need more clients. And the guidance is, well, you just need to put yourself out there. And you're like, okay, well, I've got a website. I've got a freebie on it. I'm posting on social media every day. So, like, I'm not sure what else am I meant to be doing over here. And the thing is that you're doing those things and you think that they're okay. But somebody who knows how to do them looks at them and says, no, you're missing this, you're missing that, you're missing this, you're missing that. So I think it's like you're doing what you know, but you don't know how to do it well. And so that kind of leads me into this next little thing. So, I've spoken about the podcast, we've spoken about this on the podcast, but it's the whole idea of the Dunning-Kruger effect. Dunning-Kruger effect simply means that you get a little bit of information about something and you feel, great. You feel so great. You feel on top of the world. You feel really, really confident. And without even sort of realizing it, or maybe with realizing it, you sort of behave in a very confident way. Yeah. But then it all starts coming crashing down when you dig a little bit deeper or you go a little bit further on your journey and you realize, oh my gosh, hang on, what? There's all this other stuff. Like, I didn't know about all this other stuff. And I think that's what happens with moving into private practice, starting a private practice. And this was described really well. I cannot recall for the life of me who it was that said it, but it stayed with me. And she was saying it's kind of like at the beginning of the journey, you have uninformed optimism, right? It's just completely uninformed optimism. And I think for us, that looks like, great, I've got my piece of paper. Now I get to go. And so off you go and you start your business. And so you're moving into the business uninformed about how to run one, but highly optimistic. And you're just thinking like, I'm just going to go and set it up and then I'm going to start working with clients. The next stage of that journey though is the informed pessimism. And that's when you realize, oh, okay, this isn't working. And then you start trying to look at why isn't it working? And there are all these different reasons about why it may not be working. Is it that there's no strategy? Is it that it's an issue with policies and processes and procedures? Is it that, we've got issues around managing finances? Is it we've got issues around imposter syndrome? Or is it concerns around marketing and things like that? And so we start like becoming aware. And then, we land on one of those and we say, well, it must be my marketing. I'm not getting enough people inquiring. So I need to figure this out. And you become aware about, the importance of marketing and what it is and all that kind of stuff. And so then you try it. Let's say you try posting on social media and you keep trying and you keep trying and you keep trying. You show up and you're there and you're doing everything. But guess what? You're still not getting any inquiries. So now you're kind of in the valley, if you like. You're in the valley. So this journey started off with, you were so optimistic, you had no clue how you were going to really do it. Maybe you had some ideas. Maybe you had people around you who were supporting you, who were giving you encouragement and who were saying, well, I'll help you. But they actually had no experience with private practice, or they didn't have any understanding of how it works in the mental health industry and things like that, and they were helping you with your website, and now you think your website's great because like and trust this person, you love them, and they've got a successful business, but their business is in selling doggy daycare. It's not in selling private practice. And so the website, for example, doesn't hit all of the points that it needs to hit. So now we're starting to move into this space of, well, here I am, I'm trying the things, I've got this website, I will just like let it do its thing. And because you aren't getting inquiries from the website, you then leave the website there because in your head it's done, right? You don't realize there's any issues with it. You think it's done. Like I was doing a website wellness check for a private practice owner last week. And when people order the website wellness check with me, they have to fill out a little form. It's not a big form. It's just got like 3 or 4 questions on it. But she had shared with me that she'd paid somebody $6,000 to make her website and that she really loved it. And she didn't think there was any issue with it. And she doesn't want to change anything. She just wanted me to tell her why, what to do to get more clients. But sort of here's the website. And when I had a look at it, it was a beautifully designed website, but it wasn't legally compliant. So it wasn't ranking in Google. Now, how would she know it wasn't legally compliant? She'd paid somebody $6,000. You're going to expect that your website's working, right? The way that it was written, it was not the way that we would write to attract therapy clients. All those, it had AI pictures on it. Big problem, huge. All those kinds of things. So what happens is you kind of say, okay, well, I've got my website over here. It's not generating inquiries. And then you say to yourself, what else do I need to do? Okay, I'm going to post on Instagram. So then you start like an Instagram account, or if you've already got one, you now add a second one, which is going to be like your professional one, your businessy type one, and you start over there. And you start putting pressure on yourself to come up with images and graphics and, doing all of the things. But guess what? You do that and you're consistent with it. Like you're ticking all the boxes. Everybody says you've got to do it daily. You're doing it daily. But guess what else? It's still not working. So you keep this up for about a month, let's just say. You sit down every day, you make a image, you post it, you put it out there, and then you wait and you keep refreshing. Maybe you're refreshing your messages in your DMs looking for something. Maybe you're checking how many likes or comments or hearts. Maybe you're checking your diary to see if anybody's booking in. And guess what? Nobody is. So after about a month, you say, yeah, okay, this isn't working either. Well, I've got the website here. I'm posting my Instagram. What else do I need to do? And then you go and you add a third thing that you need to do, right? And maybe that's something like, I need a freebie. So you go and you make a PDF, right? And you whack it on your website and you poured your heart and soul into it and you're really proud of it and you really love it and you showed it to your supervisor and they said, yeah, you rock, this is awesome. But your supervisor doesn't know anything about sales, doesn't know anything about marketing, can look at a PDF and see that it's, pretty to look at, or it looks maybe smart and professional, and say, yeah, this is a great PDF. So you think, okay, this is a great PDF. I'm whacking it on the website. And you leave it there and you keep checking and nobody's downloading the PDF. So now you're like, okay, what's the next thing that I need to do? Because none of this is working. Not my website, not my socials, not the freebie. I know I'll go and print some flyers. This is like my worst nightmare. Hearing women talking about how they're printing flyers when they don't have money because the practice is still trying to get off the ground, and they're going to spend all this money on flyers, stacks of flyers, and they just kind of like drop them off at places that they think might be interested, but they don't know what to do. So they literally just get a stack of flyers, go into a business, and they leave one, or maybe they leave 10 with reception, and then they walk out and they go into the next business, or they put them up on community notice boards and things like that, and then they come back and a couple of weeks goes by and they're like, well, still that's not working. And so what you can see here is that the problem isn't the website or the socials or, I think flyers are always a problem, but anyway, the flyers or the other thing that I mentioned, the freebie, it's that they haven't learned how to master any one particular thing. So before there's any mastery, they just move on to the next thing. It's like, let's say I wanted to learn how to make an omelette and I, cracked my 2 eggs and, added a little bit of water and the salt and pepper and everything, and I made an omelette, and for whatever reason, it just failed, right? Instead of me figuring out how to make the damn thing, I'm going to say, well, now I want to go and make a bomb Alaska. And then I'm going to try and make a bomb Alaska, and that's not going to work. And then I'm going to say, okay, all good. I'm just going to go and learn now I'm just going to go and create a degustation menu, right? That's not going to work. Do you see what I mean? Like, instead of just figuring out how to make the omelette first, then use that as a foundation for everything else, without realizing that it's happening because you don't know. The inclination is you do know, and it's just not working for you. And so, you're constantly adding these extra layers of work for yourself that don't need to be there. You can have a fully booked private practice with just a website. I do. You don't need to be on socials. You don't need to be doing anything else. Well, that's not true. For me, when I say I do, I mean, my clients now mostly come from my podcast and my website, right? Every week I probably get about, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 inquiries from women to join Practice Momentum. I don't, always approve all of those. Sometimes it's just going to be a better option for somebody to do something else first, to sort of ready themselves for momentum. But the thing is that websites work, and you don't need to be on social media. By constantly, I call it layering, by constantly like going to the next thing and saying, oh, well, the website's done now, I need this next thing and this next thing and this next thing, without understanding why the first thing's not working. Layering just takes you back to the beginning of getting clients or whatever it is you're focusing on. Instead of adding new things, you can have a much simpler time of your business if you attain mastery over one thing, right? And I'm sharing this with you because I made the same, I went on the same journey. I was going to say mistake. It's not a mistake. It's a journey that you go on, and how would you know differently if nobody told you, which is why I'm telling you. Save yourself the time and money. Like I spent, when I went from the bulk billing medical centre and I started in, my own brick and mortar sort of place, I lost all my referrers. I had to start from scratch and I was clueless. I did have a website, but looking back now, it was so, like, oh my gosh, if I looked at it now, I'd cringe. Like I loved it because it was nice to look at. Like it was the trending colors of the day. It was the yellow, gray and white. Remember when that was a thing, 10 years ago. So I had that. I had this great logo that I loved so much. I was obsessed with my logo, and I thought my website rocked. So I couldn't figure out like why I wasn't getting clients. So then I started, instead of like getting help to say from somebody and saying, hey, can somebody tell me why this isn't working? That thought didn't even cross my mind. It didn't. What crossed my mind was, okay, it's done. I can tick that off my to-do list, and now I better get something else. And that's when I went to Facebook, and Facebook Lives had just been introduced. I know I'm showing my age now, right? But so what was it? 2014, 15, I don't remember. And doing a Facebook Live on your business page was a fantastic way to raise awareness of your practice, because Facebook was, giving you so much reach because it wanted to attract more people to use the live streaming function. And then from there, I then went on all the directories, right? But I never mastered one particular thing. So what ended up happening for me was I went into private practice thinking that I was going to be like on the couch doing all the work, and maybe it was going to be like a tiny smidge of admin, but it was actually the opposite. It was a very rude awakening. I actually spent 95% of my time slaving away behind the scenes trying to get clients, and maybe 5% seeing them. So it was a total flip. It was the reverse of what I expected. I came crashing back down, and I'm just sharing this because I want you to see, like, this is my journey too. Like, I get it, which is why if you're just starting out, I want you to hear this so that you can save yourself the time, the headache. Because here's the other thing. When you're adding those extra layers and you're like, oh, gosh, I even had LinkedIn, it's like it takes time to do the website, but then once that's going, now you're making social media posts, you're in Canva, you're writing posts, you're scheduling stuff, right? Now that's a daily task, right? And then you add another task on top of that, which might be a weekly task of writing a blog. But that doesn't take 5 minutes, but it's another task. And then there's something else that you do. Maybe you're going to do GP meet and greet. So that's another task. And do you see what I mean? It's just all these layers. What works the most quickly for the clients that I work with in business coaching is getting to master one thing first. And I love it when they master the website first, and you know why. So I want them to be able to do that, start to see inquiries coming through. Then once inquiries are coming through, start looking at other things. What happens is when you realize that it's not working, you feel horrible, you feel defeated, you question whether you're good enough, you wonder why it's not, you want to go back and tweak, but you're not sure what to tweak because you're clueless about why it's not working, right? You wouldn't have hit publish if you didn't feel it was a good website, right? So going in and trying to tweak stuff is no help because you just don't really know what's going wrong. Here's the difference between what's going to get you to your goal more quickly and what won't. When you hit that wall of it's not working, let's say that's resistance, right? Let's say you hit that wall, the thing's not working. You got a choice. You can either push through the discomfort. It's going to be uncomfortable, right? It's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to have to find somebody who can help you, with whatever it is. It's the website or it's the socials or something. You're going to have to face it, basically. And you're going to have to get help from proper person. You're going to have to get help from somebody who has proven experience and has receipts, right? That's the latest saying, right? Have you got receipts? Who can show you like, oh, yeah, so here's what's happening on your Instagram. Here's why it's not working. You just need to do this, this, and this, right? You need to push through that discomfort. It's really hard. You're going to question yourself. You're going to have to probably find money to pay for help. Sorry if there was a little glitch just now. Somebody who shall remain nameless started barking. So I had to cut, I had to rewind and just cut that last little bit of barking out. And of course, I've forgotten my train of thought, but I think I was talking about, you're going to need to get help from somebody to problem solve. And that's part of having a business mindset, right? It's part of you directing the business. It's part of you taking control and ownership of the business and of your results. So I would say always take time to get the help. And when you do that, you don't have to have all the extra layers. There will always be things to do in private practice that are not related to the business. And this is referred to as business development. So the marketing doesn't stop. You're going to have a website and it can do like the bulk of the heavy lifting for you. Absolutely. Your website is going to be responsible for getting between 70 and 80% of the bookings for you, right? Because as I've said before, even if somebody has a referral from their doctor or a word of mouth referral, chances are they're still going to go and Google you. I know I certainly would. I'm not just going to blindly book in with somebody because somebody said so. I'm going to go and check that person out, and probably you would too. And if they didn't align, I'm not booking with them, right? So the website's going to do most of the heavy lifting. Once you get that sorted out, then it's time to look at other areas. And, you know, the constant pivoting takes you back to square one. So imagine that you're walking up a hill and you're walking up this hill. The top of the hill is, I don't know, clients or the fully booked diary or paying yourself, whatever it is. You're like walking up the hill. But every time you start a new thing or you add a new layer, you come back to the bottom of the hill and you got to start walking up again. Whereas if somebody was walking up the hill and they were part of the way up there and they realized that, for example, the website wasn't working, they might enlist the help of a Sherpa, and they might spend some time together, resting, eating, sleeping, like recharging. The Sherpa is going to be teaching them, sharing advice, sharing wisdom, all those kinds of things, and then help that person get to the top of the mountain, right? Then that person can go and add extra things. But every time it's another thing, boom, we go back to the start. And that's why some people say, oh, I just feel so overwhelmed. Or some people, when they speak with me, they'll sometimes be in tears. Like, how come it's working for everybody else and it's not working for me? We all graduated at the same time, but they're off, doing great, and I'm here. And here's the thing, like, I got better marks than them when we were doing the course. But how come they're more successful than me in business? Is it me? Is it something that I'm doing? Is it something that I'm not doing? So, yeah, the guidance here today is it's about mastery, and it's about saying, okay, if it's not working, why isn't it working? And you probably won't know, right? I had no clue why my website back in the day wasn't working. I looked at it and I loved it. I was asking my team, so I had subcontractors working for me at the time and contractors, and I was showing them the website. They all loved it. Like, none of us could figure out why it wasn't working. I shared the link in a couple of Facebook groups that I was in. Everybody said it's a great website. So I had no idea, but I never asked somebody who, knew. Do you know what I mean? And that was my journey. But I didn't know that there were people who knew. I'm not just saying this about websites, it's about for everything as well. Like, I really messed up freebies, like I didn't even know you needed a flippin' freebie. I didn't. Nobody ever explained to me the rationale. Nobody ever explained to me how it works. No one ever explained what to do, the setup that was involved, all of those kinds of things. And so for the longest time, I had this freebie on my website. Wasn't getting downloaded, but I liked it. I was pretty proud of it. And again, I had shared it with my team. I had shared it in the Facebook groups. People were saying it was great. But I didn't realize there's a whole thing around it. I didn't realize you just don't know what you don't know. And it doesn't occur to you to ask because you don't know what you don't know, right? Which is why we've got this podcast, so you do know. But just in case you're wondering, like, if you're somebody who's got the freebie on your website and it's not getting downloaded, I'll just give you a crash course in freebies right now. So the idea of a freebie is when you're in marketing speak, right? You've probably heard of a funnel. So just imagine in your mind's eye a, drawing of a funnel that you would use to funnel cooking ingredients, right? It's exactly the same as that. It's got a little spout at the bottom, right? Put 2 horizontal lines across it so that it's divided equally into thirds. Now, the very top section, the wide section, the mouth of your funnel, that's called top of funnel. That is where most of your audience sit. Top of funnel is people who maybe they're not problem aware. Maybe they don't realise they have trauma. Maybe they don't realise they have ADD. They're not really problem aware. They've got some ideas about things, but they're not really aware of the problem, which means they're also not really aware of the solution. So we need a way of reaching those people so that anybody who's in our top of funnel who has, for example, the trauma or the ADD can see that they do, and then they move into middle of funnel, right? So middle of funnel is when people are aware that they've got maybe a problem. Maybe they're very aware actually that they have anxiety or something like that. And, they're just perhaps aware also of needing some support, needing some help, needing some guidance, all those kinds of things. And so for those people, we create the freebie. It's a step for them to be able to deepen their awareness. It's also a step for them to be able to increase their awareness around your business, your practice, the way that you can help them, the type of supports that you provide, all of those kinds of things. Now, with the freebie, because they're problem aware, they download the freebie, and then we do things sort of behind the scenes to continue to deepen their awareness. And that's where things like your email marketing comes in. So we're in the middle part of the funnel now. And then some of those people are going to move to what's called the bottom of the funnel. So it's like the spout. And that spout goes into your diary. So in the bottom of funnel, we've now got people who are aware of the problem, who are aware of you, how you help, how you work, and they're now getting ready to take action. And so this is why we have the inquiry call or the discovery call. It's for those people. So you get on your inquiry call or discovery call, and where it's ethical and indicated and within your scope of practice and all the terms and conditions, you then book them in, right? And so they kind of imagine, they're kind of like dropping down out of your little spout now, and they're dropping into your diary for Monday at 11, okay, for an initial consultation. So that's in very basic terms. It's a lot more detailed than that, but that's how it works, right? So top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel, then they become clients. So I didn't understand about any of that. And maybe this is new for you as well. But I didn't understand about any of that. And so when I made my freebie, I just put it together in Canva. I really liked it. I was very proud of it. And I whacked it on my website. I didn't have any email marketing. I didn't, understand that the whole point of it was to deepen awareness or anything like that. So I had just it was a very general freebie. Sorry if there was another little glitch there. Somebody started barking again. Okay. And it just never got downloaded because it was not doing any of the things that it needed to do. And, eventually, of course, a couple of people just randomly downloaded it, but nothing ever happened. They didn't become clients. They didn't book inquiry calls from it. Nothing. I didn't even have, basic things like an opt-in form for it, nothing. I literally just put it up on a website. I was like, here, grab this, it's a free gift, all of this. I had no idea what I was doing. So yeah, how did we get onto funnels? Oh yeah, this is why, passive income. Okay, so one of the pivots that we make in business in private practice as therapists, when things aren't working out sometimes, is we say, well, I've done all these things. I'm doing my socials, the website, the flyers, the meetings, all of this. So I'm just going to trust. I'm just going to trust that they'll work out. I'm just going to trust I've put my cake in the oven and it's going to need 45 minutes on 180 to bake. While it's baking, I'm just going to start passive income. And they'll go and start passive income. And a very popular thing is, Etsy. And yeah, it's a whole thing, right? So again, I'm just going to say, like, if you've been in my world for a little while, I had an Etsy store in the past. The store was closed. And then anyway, I realized sort of when I was going through that whole, process of it closing down and stuff like that, I was looking at all the numbers and doing all the tracking and stuff like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, this store has actually been bringing in like between 500 and 1,000 a month, mostly passive income, right? I always say passive-ish because I don't believe anything's ever 100% passive. You got to get clear on your expectations. You can put something on Etsy, but you're always going to have to do things like, I don't know, somebody might have a question about it and you got to answer that question. So there's like some customer service there, or somebody might buy it and not know, like, where's my download link? And so you got to, like, do you know what I mean? It's time. There's shop management that you've got to do, all of that. So it's I would say mostly passive income. And there are other private practice owners that also have an Etsy shop. And when I was doing mine, I was sharing a lot about it, and people were saying, oh, I'm going to go and start one. And they started their own shops, and they said to me, can you go and have a look at my shop? Can I share my shop in your community? Blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, absolutely. And I go and have a look at their shop, and they might have a handful of things in there. But I could see straight away that, there were some issues. And other people, they'd had shops for a while and nothing was downloading and they didn't know why. Again, it just came back to you don't know what you don't know. And anyway, I would say if you're thinking of doing passive income because you're waiting for the cake to bake, I would say don't. Wait until the cake's out of the oven and you're eating it and you're not starving anymore and you're filling your belly with cake every single day of every single week. Like, in other words, make sure that the business is sorted out first, in that you've got inquiries regularly coming through, you've got bookings, you're paying yourself without discounting or, undercharging or doing any of the things, right? In other words, make sure the business is stable first. And then if you want to introduce passive income, learn how to do passive income. And that can be so many different things, right? Like, I have a subscription in place, the Booked and Better subscription. It's passive income for me, but it's passive-ish. I have to create a product every month. I have to make a little announcement for it. I have to make a page for it, But pretty much once it's done, right? And I don't really have to do much more around it other than some basic customer service or some marketing sort of here and there. But for me, I've got my subscription. The other thing that I just started on the weekend was I just thought, I was just sitting there watching TV with Buddy, and I just got the idea in my head, hey, you should go and do Etsy again. The good thing is I've learned from the last time I did Etsy. I've got a lot of lessons under my belt, and I'm sure if you've ever had a shop on Etsy and you closed that shop and you started from scratch again, I'm sure you too would have lessons and you would do it differently. I think it's just part of the Etsy journey, right? So, I was there on the weekend, and I guess even I had deluded myself because I was thinking, oh, this could be great. Like, it was Saturday morning. It was about 8:30 in the morning. And I just thought, I'm just going to do it. So I was just in my dressing gown. I've got this really, it's a beautiful dressing gown. It's from Udi, and it's got like the Sherpa lining, and it's like really thick and cozy, and it's got ribbing like cuffs, so it keeps all the heat in. It's got a big hood, and I was just all warm and snug here, and I had my ceremonial cacao, and I was doing all of the things. And I guess in my mind I was just thinking that I could picture my shop, and I just pictured that it was going to be there by the end of the day with all those products in it. It's actually taken me most of the weekend of hyper focus, and I still haven't finished all the behind the scenes stuff. What I did this time, though, that I didn't do last time, was I was anticipating that some of the women in Momentum might be interested in having their own Etsy store. And so I've just been like in a Google Doc, I've just been in order typing out what I was doing. Like I was just like, okay, day one, here's a list, literally in the order that I did it, of all of the things that I did. And then yesterday, on Sunday, I was saying, okay, here's what I did, and here's the order that I did it in, and I was surprised at how long some of these tasks actually took. And I've still got more to do, and I haven't even started creating the content for it yet. That's going to be fun, and I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, this is the thing. And so I know now, when I looked at those other therapists' Etsy stores, I could see that they hadn't done all this pre-work. And that's why their stock wasn't moving. That's why people weren't buying it. It's why they weren't downloading it. They just didn't really understand. And it happens, right? We just think things are going to be easy. We think that we're going to figure it out. We think, oh, that's not hard. Just whack some journals up on, whack some affirmation cards up on Etsy. They should sell. And then we realize they're not selling. And then we look at other people and they're saying, I made this much money and I made that much money and stuff like this. And we're thinking, I'm scratching our heads going, well, how come it's working for them and not for me? So wait until you've got the private practice sorted out first. Once that's stable, then introduce passive income, because it's like a whole other business. It's like, it feels almost, you're doing it under your private practice umbrella, but it feels like you're starting a whole new business. And it's a massive learning curve, and you want it to work. You want it to be successful, because the idea of passive income is that once you've got some predictability and some reliability with the money coming in, then you feel safe to do things like gradually reduce your one-to-ones. So if you're, I don't know, let's say Etsy, we'll stick with that. If your Etsy shop is bringing you, $150 a month, then instead of seeing 40 clients this month, you only need to see 39. So you get that hour back. If it's making $600 a month, then you don't have to work, on the last Friday of the month anymore. You've now got a paid day off. See what I'm saying? So yeah, passive income is not a solution for the diary not being full. The solution for the diary not being full is to go back to the beginning. It's usually going to be your website or your Psychology Today profile, and get those things fixed. It'll save you so much time. You're not going to have to do Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and all of the things. I would say if you're struggling for clients, if you're struggling for money, have a look at what's going on first. You need to master the business side of things. If you're not getting traffic to the website, then we've got a top of funnel issue. It means that whatever you're putting out into the world isn't speaking to your ideal clients for whatever reason. It's just not resonating with them. So have a look at what you're putting out and change it. Maybe turn it into more sort of psychoeducational content, and also turn it more from being quite sort of cold and bland and general and wishy-washy to being content that is personable, sort of relatable. stuff like that. So I would be having those two content types. That will fix your top of funnel, right? Because there's no point having discovery calls if there's nobody coming to the website, right? So then with the middle of funnel, that's your freebie. So go and have a look at your freebie. If that's not getting downloaded, sort it out. If it is getting downloaded, but there's no email marketing, get it sorted out. If you have the email marketing set up, but it's not converting, get it sorted out. You've either got an issue with your subject lines or you've got an issue with the content. Do you know what I mean? Those emails and those freebies should be leading people to want to take that next step of either having an inquiry call with you or booking. So if you're getting traffic, if they're getting your free thing, if they're responding to the emails and they're now starting to book in those inquiry calls, but they're not dropping from the bottom of the spout into your Xander diary or your Haluxy diary, then we've got a problem with how you're doing the inquiry calls. And so you need to fix the bottom of your funnel. So they're the three sort of areas that you want to be working on if you need to be getting clients. You don't need to be adding more things. Figure out why the first thing isn't working, refine it, and then move forward. Okay? One thing at a time, refining it so that then you've got the space and the bandwidth to move forward and bring in the new thing. Otherwise, you're going to be having 10 balls in the air and you're going to drop every single one of them because you don't know how to juggle, right? None of them are working, and you're just like adding ball number 11 now and ball number 12 now and things like that, and it's still not going to work. You're going to put yourself on a fast track to burnout. You're going to feel very overwhelmed. You're going to feel like, I'm working so hard, I work so late, I work on my weekends, it's not paying off, why isn't it working? It's not because you're not doing enough. It's never because you're not doing enough. It's because the things that you're doing aren't being done the way that they need to be. And that's happening because you just don't know. And I want to say it's not your fault, but it partly is because if you listen to this podcast, it partly is. It's because now you understand what's going on. You owe it to yourself to try and, get some support from someone who knows what they're doing to figure the thing out, right? So if you're struggling with the inquiry calls, like if your inquiry calls feel really great to you, but then, they're not converting, you need some help with that. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, so that's what I wanted to share with you today. There's some passive income stuff going on behind the scenes in my business. I've got one stream. I'm setting up a second stream. But I'm doing that because my first stream is already sort of tracking along nicely. Okay, so that's what it's looking like for me. I know everybody's going to do things a little bit differently. And yes, there are always exceptions to the rule. And you do need to do things that are right for you. But I just wanted you to be aware of like the thinking and, what goes into introducing new strategies for building the business and growing it so that you can feel more confident moving forward, making decisions that feel right for you and your business based on where you're at the moment. Okay. If you do struggle with things like discovery calls, you might want to grab the Undiscovery Call product. I'll put the link in the show notes. If you're struggling with getting the freebie downloaded, you might want to grab the Booked at First Sight product that will help you learn how to make an app that will absolutely get downloaded. Somebody in Momentum was saying this morning that, she had somebody download the app over the weekend and they've gone and actually booked a session through the app and she doesn't know this person. So it works, right? All those kinds of things. If it's a website issue and you can go into your dashboard or your Google Analytics and you see the traffic probably isn't so great or that you have a high bounce rate and things like that, then you might want to book a website wellness check. Those kinds of things can be really, really helpful for you because, we want to increase the bookings and the money coming through for you. If those things are working out and you're considering passive income and you're not quite sure what that might look like for you. There are so many different options for passive income. It doesn't have to be Etsy or a subscription or a membership or a course. There are so many different ways, and you just want to unpack it. Let me know. I'll put a link in the show notes. You can have a 15-minute call with me, and I'm more than happy to help you figure out a model or two that might work really well for what the goal is for introducing it in the first place. So I hope this was useful. I will do an episode on, the lessons I learned from my first Etsy store, and then we can kind of go from there if you like. All right, my lovelies, have a beautiful day and talk soon. Bye. And that's a wrap for this episode of the Private Practice Podcast. So as you reflect on today's insights, imagine creating real success in your private practice without going down rabbit holes or exhausting yourself with business activities that don't move the needle. With Practice Momentum, you have push of a button help available on demand. It's like having an expert in your pocket ready to guide you whenever you need it. Visit brooklynstorm.com to discover how Practice Momentum can transform your approach to building a thriving practice. I'm Dr. Brooklyn Storm, and I'll see you next time as we continue exploring the mind, business, and spirit of private practice success.